Beauty and fame, but this life has secrets. She chose independence, yet faced real heartbreak. Today, I pull back the curtain. At 80, Jacqueline Bisset looks like grace itself. Many think it was all red carpets and roses. Not quite. Early on, a critic called her the most successful movie actress in the world, paid $1 million a picture. She raced through more than 30 films in her first 2 decades. She dazzled in Bullitt and later moved audiences again with a Golden Globe win for Dancing on the Edge in 2013. And yet, behind that poise lived a woman who refused the script others wrote for her. She once said, "Marriage has just never interested me. No wedding, no children, just work, discipline, and the quiet cost of choosing your own path." I've spent years digging through interviews, old clippings, and fan memories to trace the real journey. The glamour is only half the story. The deeper half is the heart. Which film is your favorite Bisset role, Bullitt or The Deep, and why? You're watching Golden American Legends, and this is the Jacqueline Bisset you rarely hear about. She rose fast, but the real test started even earlier. Let's begin where that iron will was forged. Model turned actress, French flair, English grit. But childhood brought duty too. Jacqueline Bisset was born in 1944 to a Scottish doctor and a French attorney. She grew up with music, languages, and discipline. Then life turned. Her mother battled multiple sclerosis. Money got tight. So the daughter stepped in. She modeled to help at home and to pay for classes. First came ballet. The studio taught her posture, stamina, and silence under pressure. Those hours built the poise people now call timeless. Acting crept in next. A sharp-eyed director urged lessons. She listened. By 1965, she landed a small film part in The Knack, the first brick in a very long road. When I look at that start, I see a young woman learning how to work through pain without making a scene about it. That early caretaking role taught her to show up no matter what. It shaped the quiet strength we later saw on screen. She once admitted she had an intense obsession with making films. You can hear the heartbeat of that in her teens. Ballet gave her spine, family need gave her purpose, and purpose would launch her into the late 1960s like a rocket. The break came fast. A smile, a spark, a rush. By her mid-20s, Jacqueline was sharing scenes with legends. In 1967, she popped in Two for the Road and stole eyes in the Bond spoof Casino Royale. 1 year later, she was opposite Frank Sinatra in The Detective and riding shotgun with Steve McQueen in Bullitt. That stretch made her a name audiences remembered. Critics took note, too. She earned a Golden Globe nomination as Most Promising Newcomer for The Sweet Ride in 1968. The industry loves speed, and her rise was just that. Offers stacked up. Magazine covers followed. The camera loved the cheekbones, the accent, the cool restraint. But the spotlight can be a trap. Even as the world cheered the beauty, you could sense a new weight on her shoulders. When the town decides who you are, it is hard to argue back. Still, her craft was growing under all that flash. She was watching, learning, and selecting. The next chapter would prove just how high fame could lift her and how sharply it could sting. The door to superstardom was open. The deep waited on the other side. She became an icon underwater. The image was everywhere. A single scene turned into a wave. In 1977, The Deep made Jacqueline Bisset a global sensation. The ocean shots, the cling of that white t-shirt, one producer even joked, "That t-shirt made me a rich man." A glossy magazine crowned her the most beautiful film actress of all time. The movie was a major hit. Money, covers, and endless buzz followed. But inside, she bristled. She later said she felt tricked by how provocative those moments became. She had given them craft and courage, some took only the poster. That is the double edge. Stardom can sell the image and skip the person. I can imagine the mix of pride and ache. The film made her bankable. It also boxed her in. From then on, rooms wanted the surface, more light, less depth. That tension would drive her choices for years. She had the leverage of a star. Now she had to use it to protect the actor. Fame had arrived in a roar, but happiness did not ride its wave. Her next move would be a fight for her voice. Pretty face. That was the lazy box. But Jacqueline did not live in boxes. After The Deep, scripts chased the image. She kept hearing that she was too pretty for the heavy parts. Imagine being told your face disqualifies your soul? She pushed back. She slowed the grind. She started saying no to fluff and yes to roles with bones. In interviews, she wondered, what do I have to do to get interesting material? That question became a mission. She worked with directors who valued character over gloss. She sharpened her choices. And she took on complex women, not just window dressing. By the late 1970s, she had already done more than 30 films, a staggering pace. Yet some critics still shrugged that there were few standouts. That only fueled her. She studied, listened, and prepared like a craftsman, not a celebrity. The aim was simple: be integral to the story or do not do it. The world kept asking for the poster, she kept answering with the performance. The next chapter shows how she grabbed even more control, stepping behind the scenes to make sure the work had weight. Power would meet purpose. When the roles would not rise to meet her, she raised the roles. Jacqueline began developing projects and attaching herself only when the character mattered. She co-produced Rich and Famous in 1981 to secure a part with Bite. She followed with ambitious work like Under the Volcano in 1984, a turn that won critical respect and awards attention. She talked often about loving the work, even needing it. That is not the thrill of fame. That is the devotion of an artisan. She also had a smart guardrail. Choose roles that are integral to the plot. If the character is not essential, she risks being trimmed in the edit. So she aimed for stories where you could not cut her and keep the film whole. This is why her best parts feel anchored. They matter to the engine of the movie. I admire that discipline. It is not a short road. It is a road of patience, taste, and long bets. Over time, those bets paid off, not always with blockbusters, but with dignity and depth. She was building a body of work that would outlast the poster, and that posture shaped her life off-screen too. No ring, no regrets, people whispered. She answered plainly, marriage has just never interested me. In a town that loves neat endings and big white dresses, Jacqueline Bisset chose a different path. She had long relationships, yes, but no wedding and no children. That choice was not a lack, it was a stand. She liked to care for people, to cook, to nest, but she also said she did not need to do those things as much anymore. Freedom let her follow the work, the silence, the travel, the risk. For many, that can feel lonely. For her, it looked like alignment. She took the pressure, the side-eye, even the dated questions about self-respect, and she kept walking. I respect that spine. So much of her screen presence is calm control. Off-screen, she lived that value. At 80, she is still unmarried. She has no children. And she is still here, defined by the work and the woman she chose to be. Quick pause. If you love stories that look past the gloss and honor the human heart, please subscribe. More legends are coming, and I want you with me. Now, what about love itself? That story is tender and raw. Two great loves marked her life. Michael Sarrazin in the late 1960s and early 70s, Alexander Godunov in the late 1980s into the mid-90s. Both lasted about 7 years. Both were bright, public, and real. With Sarrazin, she was part of a young Hollywood power pair, meeting while working and growing up in the same storm. With Godunov, she found an artist's intensity, a dancer's fire. Then loss struck. In 1995, Godunov died suddenly. Jacqueline was deeply affected. Grief does not care about fame. It comes like weather, and it stays how it wants. She carried on with work, but you can feel the ache in the pauses when she speaks of that time. There were other relationships, producer Victor Dry, actor Vincent Perez, martial artist Emin Bostape, but none turned into marriage. That was never the point. Partnership for her was a chapter, not a contract. I see courage in that, and cost too. You can choose freedom and still feel the sting when love ends. Out of that sorrow, she kept moving. The craft became a place to put the feeling, and at last, the industry began to honor the artist. Decades in, finally, her name was called. In 2013, Jacqueline Bisset won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress for the series Dancing on the Edge. It was a late, sweet nod for a woman who had been doing the work all along. Long before that, she had earned Golden Globe nominations for Rich and Famous in 1981 and Under the Volcano in 1984. And in 2010, France awarded her the Legion of Honor, a high salute to a lifetime of cultural impact. Recognition is not everything, but when it comes, it tells you the hours paid off. I love that her biggest trophy arrived not at 20 or 30, but near 70. It proves that patience can still win in this business. Her thank you moments were grounded and warm. No bitterness, just relief and quiet pride. Awards do not erase the path she walked. They do not fix old wounds. They do remind the world that she was never just the poster from the deep. She was and is a serious actor. But new honors do not stop the clock. The next chapter is about time, truth, and holding your ground in your 80s. In her 70s, people said she would fade. She smiled and kept working. "I'll still be good in my 70s, and here I am," she once said. Even now, past 80, she stays active when the right part comes. No plastic surgery, no mask. She values a real face, lines and all, because warmth lives there. A few years back, she shared that she still gets a real buzz from working. You can feel that energy in recent films like Lauren and Rose. She often plays women with pasts, women who listen more than they speak. Roles do get fewer. That is the old ageism problem, and it hits women hardest. She handles it with patience, humor, and focus. Read the script. Ask if the character matters. If yes, do the work. If no, pass with grace. That steady test has kept her voice clear. The public image is still elegant. The private person is still disciplined and kind. Triumph and pain both live in her story, even now. The storms change shape, but her compass holds. Next, let's ask what all this adds up to, what she leaves behind for the rest of us. Elegance is easy to see. Endurance is harder to name. Jacqueline Bisset's legacy sits in both. Fans remember that ocean image. She asks us to remember the acting. She once said the silver screen is a mirror of the world. That belief sums up her choices. She made movies about people, not poses. She mentored quietly across generations and is even godmother to a star who changed modern Hollywood. She showed that a woman can define her own life without apology. No marriage, no children, work that matters, real conversation, listening as an art, and yes, beauty that never pushed anyone aside. Her career now spans more than 5 decades and well over 100 acting credits. The work ranges from action to drama to indie films that live in whispers, not headlines. Through it all, she kept her dignity and her standards. That, to me, is the point. Grace is not a dress. It is a discipline. It is choices on long days when no one is cheering. Behind the tragic turns and lost loves is a steady light. That is the legend she leaves. One more thought and a question for you. We just walked through a life that looks like gold on the surface and felt like steel underneath. Jacqueline Bisset rose fast, took hits, and stood firm. She turned a hard childhood into work ethic. She turned a double-edged fame into a fight for craft. She chose independence in a world that wanted a wedding photo. She loved and she lost. Then she kept going. Later, the honors arrived. Now, at 80, she still shows up with warmth and truth. That is what I admire most. If this story moved you, please subscribe. I bring you the hidden hearts behind our classic legends, week after week. Thanks for watching. And here is my question for you. Which of her life decisions surprised or inspired you most? Tell me in the comments. I will be reading. Stay kind to each other and stay curious. The past is not dusty here. It is alive, and it still has something to say.